everybody, what's up? It's Phil from Zade Comics. I'm the writer and co-creator of Magic Cop, which is live now on Indiegogo, and just one half of the two best looking brothers in all of comics. And today we're coming at you with another comic review. This is a special one for the holiday season. We just had Christmas pass and a bunch of other holidays are going on, so I hope everybody had a good one. And today we're taking a look, as you can see, at the Lobo Paramilitary Christmas special. This came out in 1991 by writers Keith Giffen and Alan Grant and the legendary artist Simon Bisley, boosting this character into superstar comic book fandom in the 90s. This is one of my favorites, and this is the perfect time of year to go over it. I know a lot of people have heard about this book, but I don't know if they've actually read it. This is very interesting how it starts out and leads into the popularity that Lobo did have in the 90s. Now, I recorded this video already, but at my house, I don't know if there was something wrong with the computer. It was super laggy, so I'm recording this intro again. And I really love this comic, so much so that I actually have a statue of the this cover here. As you can see, painted it myself. Is based off of the cover and one of the scenes where you have this elf here who gets its arm ripped off. And let's take a look at the book. Again, this awesome Bisley cover. This is the first time we see the character kind of in this costume, where he's got this big shoulder pad, and in 90s fashion, they had a warning on the cover. It says, "Warning, contains bad taste in the form of ultraviolence, icon bashing, and the finger. More offensive than Christmas usually is." Like I said, 1991, Bisley did all the line work for it, and I really like his line work in this early stage of his career. Doing Lobo, we've seen this in Lobo's Back and the original Last Zarnian storyline. It's very scratchy and heavy inked, and very unique to his style. And throughout his career, we see the style change often. But this is actually, people that haven't read this might not know how this story unfolds. It's kind of a meta story, a tale within a comic book. We have a narration going on, telling a story of Christmas time, and this is on a different world where we see two parents here, very ugly parents, depicted as constantly yelling. You could see on this mother's face, she would just be a woman that is screaming constantly and telling her husband off that he got fired from his job for basically taking too long of bathroom breaks, and he has no income, so he can't buy his children any gifts for Christmas. So they decide, because their kids are going to be so mad at them, the kids will probably try to kill them. So the dad grabs a gun and is going to beat them to it. So he has to go slaughter his own children before they catch on to not having any gifts for Christmas. But when that happens, there is a knock at the door. The father says, that they might have overheard us talking and have flanked us, so he grabs the gun and they're going to open the door. But they find this book, this big holiday book. They wonder what it is, open it up, and see that it is in fact the Lobo story. So this is, like I said, it's really meta. It's a story within a story, and Keith Giffen really played this up with Lobo. He was one of the first characters that was notably breaking the fourth wall after kind of She-Hulk started that in the 80s with comics. But a lot of people and fans attribute that to Deadpool in the mid-80s, but Lobo had been doing it for some amount of years over at DC. And this is no different. It happens a lot in the story, and this being a meta comic book where these parents are actually reading this Christmas story, the Lobo Xmas Sanction, as it is called, or "'Tis the season to be jolly, rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat." So this is an ad here. It says basically, if you have no job, no money, no prospects, and Christmas is going to go poor for you, to prevent your children from killing you, read them this story and they'll forget all about Christmas.
So they begin to read, and we see Lobo at his best. I mean, Bisley really goes all out on these splash pages in this book. He's got a really scratchy, heavy inking style in this time of his career, and it just lends to Lobo's look so well. This is also the first appearance of Dog. This is the first time Bisley threw Dog in here, and we'll see a bunch of other animals in this book later on, but Dog talks in here. He gets into a lot of action, and it literally says here, once upon a time there was a really cool dude. There was also a dog of sorts that had taken to following him around. So I love the underlined, theme that Lobo doesn't care about Dog. He doesn't know where he came from. He insists that Dog just started following Lobo around, and he doesn't even claim him to be his own. So the basic story here, it starts out with Lobo in a bar, like usual Lobo stories do, and he's looking for someone that wants to hire him. And it turns out to be this rabbit, who turns out to be the Easter Bunny. And the main plot of this story, if you guys didn't know, but the Easter Bunny hires the greatest bounty hunter of all time, Lobo, to seek out and kill Father Christmas, Santa Claus, because he's taking up too much real estate in the holiday market. So he agrees to accept, mostly because Lobo had a rotten childhood and never got any gifts because he was always on the naughty list. Sweet 90s action montage of him loading up his weapons, and then with a close-up of ho ho ho. Don't get these guys wrong here. Even though this is a Christmas story, on the front cover where it said, be warned, ultra-violence, they take it to the next level. This is some of the first, super ultra-violence I remember in a mainstream comic that I could think of. This came out in 91, and we get in here with big explosions, plants a bomb on the front door, and it is like a huge military facility. These elves are really freaky looking, and the alarm's sounding off. And when the elves see Lobo, they know him by the name the Naughtiest One. So even, these elves in the North Pole know who Lobo is. His reputation precedes him, and they get in kind of like a Mexican standoff here. And one of the elves says, "Fire at will," and pop, 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 the corks go off. Now this is totally up, Alan Grant's, Keith Giffen's alley. Keith is a hilarious writer, very dark comedy, black comedy, and Lobo is where he shows it off the most. One of my favorite splash pages, making Lobo look so action-packed, so high tea, and it just starts a montage of pages and pages of elves being murdered. And this is what I'm talking about. We weren't seeing this kind of violence in mainstream DC books back then. And to be honest, I don't know if we have since. Like, definitely now we're not seeing this. This is very indie violence. Like, you'd see this in something that would catch a teenager's eye in an indie comic, and they'd have to buy it. And we get a lot of this violence in this comic in Lobo's back. There's a splash page of a bunch of dead elves, and this leads into seeing Lobo find Santa Claus. And we get a really good setup here, and I want to talk about this page specifically because it's setting up for the next page. And a lot of times in comics storytelling, the way that Keith Giffen is breaking down this page, the pacing of it, he does a really great job setting up the page turn. And it's textbook comics 101 of writing and story breakdowns. We set the scene here with a big, horizontal panel where we see he's now in a new room. It looks like a fancier room, maybe a mansion. Maybe he's gone to a different building, and a big winding staircase. So this is where someone of power lives, someone of wealth. And he's talking about, he says, come out wherever you are. You can run, but you can't hide, basically. And Santa replies with, "Who's hiding hotshot?" And I love this. Lobo lists off all of Santa's monikers. Santa Sneckin' Claus, aka Father Christmas, Kris Kringle, Big Bloody Nick, the Crusher. Indicating that in the underground, the underworld, that Santa ain't a really, really good guy. Big Bloody Nick. I thought that was hilarious, characterizing him as this in this story and kind of layering on the personality of Santa Claus. Then you turn the page perfectly and you get this big splash page of the total Bisley Santa Claus with this gorilla behind him. Now, I also wanted to talk about this because I heard Simon Bisley, talk in an interview last year that about drawing Lobo specifically, that he would throw in random animals in a page or a panel or through the whole story that weren't indicated to be in the story by Keith. Did this was Bisley loves drawing animals, loves painting animals. If you hear any interviews, he always says that. So basically he would get a page, throw in an animal, and then they would have to send the page back to Alan Grant to put the dialogue in, and then off of his cuff, he would throw in things that would relate to those animals, like why are they here. So in this page, Santa is saying, "This is my roommate Kong. Can he fetch you a drink?" So they're going to have a knife fight. Santa gets to choose the weapon, and again, one of my favorite panels here, splashes of Lobo, all that blackness draped on his face, and following that is one of the most brutal fights I've seen in comics. In knife fights, we get Claus getting his eye punched out, and we get Saint Nick with his head decapitated. Again, not for children. He finds the naughtiness and the nice list and reads them and determines that the nice list are just victims in the making, and everybody on the naughty list could be a threat to Lobo's future endeavors. So he does what he does best. He uses his intelligence to make some atomic bombs, gets the reindeer together, and basically starts chucking bombs and destroying the world, ending the story and coming back into reality on this alien planet where these parents are reading this, and they're really excited because they're going to read this to their kids, and their children are going to forget all about Christmas, and they're not going to kill them. But they turn the page, and they see that it's only good for one read, and it self-destructs, just like Mission Impossible, and they realize that they're going to have to fight their kids. They go upstairs. The dad tells the mom to wait downstairs, and it seems like all of her hair is falling out. Again, these characters are disgusting. And it ends with Silent Night being interrupted by gunfire and a huge splash page of the main man wishing you a Merry Christmas. This is, again, one of my favorite all-time Lobo stories. What did you guys think? Did you like seeing Lobo kill Santa Claus, and how the DC universe depicts this story? Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment below. What did you guys do for the holidays? What did you get? Let me know. Hey guys, have you heard of Magic Cop? This is the comic book that we're making at Zade Comics. It is live right now on Indiegogo. It is that Miami Vice feel mixed with monsters and magic. 88 pages, fully colored graphic novel. And be sure to pick up that ash can that comes with it. It's going to have a bunch of concept art and a 12-page pilot issue. So check it out. We're fully funded. That means if you back it, you're definitely going to get this book. And we're heading on for the stretch goals. So help us out to get there. Thanks, everybody. Did you guys know that Brandon Diaz, the artist of Magic Cop, has his very own Patreon page? You guys can head on over there and pledge for either $5 or $8 a month, and you get these beautiful digitally painted pictures by Brandon. He does one a week for all of his members. So head on over there, check it out.